Hey everyone, this is Fabio and welcome back to what I think is going to be a short video, but simply because I was feeling that like I have to do this because today is a very special day. The 28th of November. What happened the 28th of November? Well, 20 years ago, this little game here was released here in the West. Breath of Fire 4. Enough said. As you know, I am a huge fan of the Breath of Fire series. It's my favorite RPG series of all time, nothing's gonna change that. And this is the peak of the series and my personal favorite game of all time. And my idea is simply to make this short tribute video to celebrate the 20th anniversary of a truly special game. As I've told many times on my channel, I discovered the series because of Breath of Fire 3 on PlayStation 1, completely random. I saw the game in a video game store in the PlayStation section. I was curious by the title, so Breath of Fire, what is it? Then I read it behind, I saw the graphics and thought, well, this looks interesting. And boy, my life was never the same again as a gamer, because that's the game that truly ignited my passion for RPGs, JRPGs specifically. Because again, as I told multiple times, the first time I experienced RPGs, obviously there's a siren that it's not going to pass while I decided to make this video. It's extremely annoying. But as I said multiple times, the first time I discovered RPGs was through Western RPGs on PC, and it was a bad experience. I did not enjoy them, so that could have been the end of my career as an RPG player, which is fun thinking it now. Basically, RPGs are the only games I play. I tried Phantasy Star 2 at one point at a friend's place, loved it, but never really experienced anything like that since Breath of Fire 3, hence its importance to me. It made me experience this type of games, and I fell in love with the formula. Plus the fact that the game was one of the most gorgeous I've ever seen helped big time. But I fell in love with the world, I fell in love with the characters, with the music, the simple yet engaging combat system, the turn-based, everything clicked just perfectly. And the rest is history, as I said. Since then, I've been addicted to JRPGs, and all of this because of Breath of Fire. But once I played Breath of Fire 3 and it completely blew my mind, I had no idea that Capcom was developing a sequel. And all of a sudden, one day, completely randomly, I was walking around with, I think, my mom. We ended up in a store, random store, like I think it was a newspaper store, and I saw this specific copy. This is my original PC copy. This is how I played the first time. When I saw it, my jaw dropped on the floor because I said, I had no idea. I was obsessed with Breath of Fire 3, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, they made a sequel to the greatest game of all time? Count me in! Even if it's on PC. And I remember that a couple of times my PC could not handle this, which is ridiculous to think of it. That's how shitty my PC was. But I managed to play it all, I finished it, and I was mesmerized by how good this game is. And if you've never experienced Breath of Fire 4, and you consider yourself an RPG fan, you're truly doing a disservice to yourself, because this is truly one of the greatest games of its generation. I mean, obviously it's my personal favorite game of all time, but even people who might not be obsessed like myself with the Breath of Fire series will confirm this is a truly amazing game. It has a fantastic story, an unforgettable cast of characters, a great magical soundtrack. It's one of the most gorgeous PS1 games of all time. And the thing is, I replayed a section of it recently, and it's crazy how good this game still holds up. Yes, you can tell that it's old, but it's still gorgeous. There's something truly special about it. Because as I said, like Breath of Fire 3 introduced those gorgeous sprites, 4 perfected it. And in a way you can tell that, as a true sequel should do, Breath of Fire 4 took everything that was great about Breath of Fire 3, which is basically everything. If I need to be honest, Breath of Fire 3 is a near perfect game, but took everything about 3 and made it better. So you have the ultimate Breath of Fire experience. So if you never experienced this series, start with this, because I love all the games, well, except 6, that doesn't count. The first one is great. It's a bit rougher on the edges. It's an old Super Nintendo game, so it's a bit... Starting from the first one, it might be a bit tough for, like, normal people, I would say. Because, of course, like, I played it... It's the last one that I play, because I play the series in random order, because you don't need to play them in order. And I still enjoyed one immensely, but because by that point I was fanatical about the series. If I wouldn't start with the first one, I don't know if I would be obsessed as I am today. So in any case, as I say, it's cool that I will always keep this random PC copy. There's no value. I mean, you can find this for next to nothing online. While the PlayStation 1 copy that I bought like the next year, it started to get a bit pricey. Nothing like, I don't know, a Shin Megami Tensei game. But it started to get into the 30s and 50s, it depends, but I was wise. Back then I bought one copy immediately. Unfortunately it was without the instruction manual, or I lost it, but I'm more inclined to think it was the previous, because I always managed to keep my games in a very good state. But, and it's funny, if you look at my PC copy, I got some notes here, like where to find dragons, the directions in the desert, because first time I played without a guide or anything, but the second I was like, screw that, I'm not doing that again. But it didn't ruin the game for me at all, actually. I love exploring the desert with that music, looking at Ryu running. But what a game, unbelievable game. It has probably I would say my personal favorite antagonist and then villain in video game history with Folu. Truly special, amazing, unbelievable story and the connection with Ryu. In here you can really tell that Capcom was at the peak of its game, of its creativity, because all the best Capcom games basically came from this period, the late 90s, early 2000s, before the big decline in the following generation, and before, of course, they started to come back recently. But to me, by this point, Capcom were like the gods of video gaming. But yeah, as I said, like, I don't want to properly review the game because there are a gazillion reviews on YouTube, so that's not really the point. I just want to give a small tribute and a personal tribute to not only my favorite game of all time, but to the best representative of my favorite series of all time, and ultimately a truly special game. So happy 20th anniversary, Breath of Fire 4. And even though I give a lot of crap to Capcom for the way, but deservedly so, I believe, because the way they treated the series, it's not right. They done nothing with it since Breath of Fire 4, so that's not a way to do it. But they created the series, so they will always have that in their advantage. So I want to send a big thank you to Capcom for creating this truly special series, and ultimately one of the best RPGs I ever experienced. So yeah, there you go. That's my very short tribute to a great, unforgettable game that to me was a truly religious experience that will never get away and will never be replicated. So 20 years since this game was released, it's crazy to think about it, but it's like a time has never passed for this. It's that good of a game, so I cannot recommend it enough. If you never experience it, just try to get it and play it any way you can, because you deserve to experience this phenomenal game. So there you have it. A small couple of nice words on one of the greatest games of all time. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Take care.